So thank you for joining us. As Denise introduced me, I'm James Stix, the service manager at the University of Edinburgh for Noteable. In this webinar, we're going to describe a little bit about Noteable to begin with, and then we'll go into the more relevant current developments for the service, as well as some resources that we're working on that we'd love to hear any feedback you might have for. So starting with what Noteable is and its current availability for Scottish schools. It is a free service available online for Scottish teachers to access through the Glow app library, and I'll explain in a little bit more detail what that means as we go along. It has come out of a process of integration in partnership with Education Scotland, and it is maintained, developed, and implemented as a service by EDINA, which is a Centre for Digital Expertise here at the University of Edinburgh that has been providing services for the educational market for 25 plus years. So the integration work that has been carried out for Noteable means that it is an available application for schools to access through Glow. There is a process to acquire the application through the local authority, and we'll go through that here in this next slide. So before we go into Noteable and what it provides as a service, the first step to gain access to it from a school's perspective will be to have the Glow key contact reach out to RM Unify, which is the software provider behind Glow, who allows new applications to become available in the application library, essentially. And they can facilitate an application request form from RM to the Glow key contact. There is also a link here on this slide that provides a bit more information about Noteable and how it is available via the app library in Glow. It also provides a data protection impact assessment, which we have heard a number of local authorities require. So all the information that is needed should be available within that website. We will be sharing the links to these slides after today's workshop as well. So you'll have access to this link and you can always reach out to us through our website. That will be at the final slide if you have any more information or would like to access this page. So with that said, in terms of the integration behind Noteable, what it actually is as a service, it's a web-based platform providing access to a variety of different coding environments, primarily as being used for computer science subjects, for statistical subjects, including math and other related subjects, as well as specific uses in chemistry, in biology, even in astrophysics. So it's quite a versatile tool, providing access to these environments that are mostly run out of Jupyter notebooks and the Jupyter Notebook interface, which you may be familiar with. And together it provides a platform for computational notebooks and pre-installed libraries. So it is essentially a pre-configured development environment that is primarily based on Jupyter notebooks, as well as other environments such as RStudio, providing access to the R environment, which we have seen a number of schools start using for the higher applications of math qualification that was recently introduced by SQA. You'll also see on the bottom of the slide here that Noteable provides access to web development languages and environments. It can provide access to HTML, to CSS, and to JavaScript through the same interface that you access when you go in through Glow. And it's available using Jupyter Lab, which is the more modern iteration of the Jupyter Notebook environment. And we'll see what that looks like in the next couple of slides in a few screenshots and visuals here. So once Noteable has been added as an available application into Glow for your school, clicking on the Noteable tile in Glow will take you to this notebook selection web page that we can hopefully see here quite clearly. Here you'll see a drop-down menu, which will give you a list of the available notebook types inside of Noteable, as well as some handy links to guides and to available resources. And there's a little bit more information on the right-hand side here about the collaborative sessions, which will also be shown in the next following slides, which allows 2 or more people to access the same notebook, and the owner can run cells and save that notebook, whilst people who are invited can edit cells and add to the code that's being worked on there. So what that means is once you click on the notebook selection page, you have this list here of available notebooks. As mentioned in the earlier slide, there's a web development environment that was recently introduced into Noteable that makes use of the Jupyter Lab interface. and provides access to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript from within a web browser, and it can actually render and show the output of the content you have been developing from within Noteable in the same tile window. So we'll have a look at that in the next slide as well. There's the standard notebook environment, just going from bottom to top here, and that provides access to a Python 3 Jupyter Classic environment, which has pre-installed libraries and extensions that have either been requested from users over the past few years or have been added by the IDENA team when they were deemed suitable as popular libraries that could be used for different uses. The standard collaborative notebook includes the same pre-configured set of libraries and extensions, but it makes use of the Jupyter Lab environment, which, as mentioned, is that more recent development to Jupyter, which provides a slightly better, more intuitive view as an interface, and you can combine different tiles into essentially rendering panes and coding panes, such as when you're using the web development environment. And scrolling up, we have a variety of different applications of notebooks for academic uses. So the Sage notebook has been requested by a number of users in a couple of different universities that Noteable is being used in. And then the RStudio notebook is a more popular notebook being used in math and statistics. And we've seen that being used in schools quite extensively over the past year or so. And if you kept scrolling up, you would be able to see a couple of additional options for notebook configurations, such as the chemistry notebook, the astrophysics notebook, the biology notebook, as well as some more recent additions to the machine learning notebook in particular, which includes some new AI GPT type extensions and features. So once you've gone through the Notable Access page and chosen your desired notebook, there are some other features that we can review here that Notable provides. So the first one is being able to import a repository from an external source on the internet. We see this primarily being used with GitHub in Notable, but it's also being used for other sources on the internet or on servers at different institutions that wanted to provide access to data sets through those repositories in Notable. So that is one way to import data into Notable. Another way is to, of course, upload your own files locally. And we've seen this being done for lesson plans, for assignments as well, and for other data sets that an instructor or teacher would like for students to upload into their the notebook environment on Notable. In terms of the collaboration aspects that were briefly mentioned a short moment ago, there is the feature to share a link for other users to write in the notebook that you have shared with them. For privacy reasons, a person visiting the notebook cannot run the cells, but they can edit to their heart's delight, and they can add and subtract from the work in the notebook, either as part of an assignment or as part of a group work. We've seen these used in a couple of ways as of recent. And lastly, here at the bottom, we have the assignment features of Notable, which have been used very extensively across different courses and subjects. It is based on the NB Grader or Notebook Grader extension available for Jupyter. And what this allows is for a contained assignment exchange that within Notable allows for a teacher to come in, create an assignment that involves code, and then distribute it to all of the students in a class or a school. And that includes some additional features that we could go into if desired later on in the Q&A, such as auto-grading of notebooks, multiple instructors, or accessing from multiple courses. So going into a little bit more detail on each of these features, starting with the importing of a Git repository from the internet. If we look here at the visual on the left, there are a couple of different options for how to do this in the different environments. So starting from the bottom left, in Jupyter Lab, initializing or cloning a repository is going to be its own distinct drop-down menu from the toolbar. So if you click on Git from a Jupyter Lab environment in Noteable, you will be able to access those features. In RStudio, it can be done through a new project creation window that can be accessed through the File drop-down menu. And here you can create either a new directory, access an existing directory, or work with version control and check out a project from a version control repository. And more extensively, we've seen Git being cloned in the Jupyter Classic environment, mostly because it's been the environment that's been available in Noteable for the longest. And to do that, you have your dedicated plus Git repo button that you can see here on the bottom right image that allows for you to import data from a Git repository using a URL. If you would like to upload files from your own machine, from your own computer, you can also do that in the different environments available. And here they are side by side on this slide. So if you want to upload them using the Jupyter Classic environment on the left-hand side here, you can do so with that blue underlined upload button. You can do the same in the Jupyter Lab environments with that dedicated upload files icon that you get in the launcher area, where you can launch a new notebook file as well. And in RStudio, you can, of course, upload a file using the upload button as well, available under the Files tab. Moving on to the collaborative features available in Noteable. So the first step, and again, this is moving from left to right on the slide here. When you access a collaborative session notebook, and it is not only the standard notebook that includes the collaborative session feature, we also have other Python-based Jupyter notebooks that include the collaborative session, such as a geospatial notebook that has been used for visualizations of geospatial concepts, for example. Also includes the collaborative session option, making use of that Jupyter Lab environment, which you can see on the left-hand side here, has on the left a description of any files and folders that you might have on Noteable, and then you can launch those files on the viewing pane on the right-hand side there, as you can see. And to share a link, you can go onto the right-hand click menu here for a file that sits inside a dedicated folder for sharing files, which is called Collab folder. So if you access that folder, you'll be working with the files that you can then create a link for and share with anybody else that you would like. So again, what that means is you can generate a shareable link, send it to anybody you would like to access the notebook file that you are working on, and then they can access that file. One thing to note is that once that link has been shared, anybody who goes into that link can also access any of the files that are in that collab folder. So that's also a quite easy way to distribute access to an entire folder of content, perhaps if you would like, for your classes. And lastly here, in terms of features of Noteable to mention, they use the assignment service, which provides access to multiple instructors in any school to go into a folder and look at the assignments that a student has either submitted or work on assignments that you would like to distribute to a class. There are a couple of highlighted areas here in the image on the slide. So starting again from the left, there's the instructor courses folder, and that is a school level folder where any instructor that accesses Noteable from a school will be able to see that folder, access it, and see what assignments have been created and released for that school. You can start to see the assignments tab here on the top with Form Grader. Form Grader is where only teachers are going to be able to create assignments. So students that access Noteable won't actually see the Form Grader tab anywhere. They won't be able to access it. And if they click on the MB Grader button there on the toolbar, they won't see Form Grader as an option, whilst teachers will be able to see Form Grader and access it to create assignments. Moving towards the bottom of the Jupyter Lab window here, under the Assignments tab, that's representative of what students will be seeing. So instructors can also click on assignments under the MB Grader menu and have a visual of any assignments that have been released to the school and that students will be working on. And then you can download any assignments as a student that you would like, and that means that they get saved onto your Noteable user storage, and each user gets 10 gigabytes of storage. And then you can submit any assignments as a student for the teacher to receive, and then either do some auto grading, which is a great time-saving feature that's available within notebooks, or manually go in and check the assignments within a notebook and provide any comments or more personalized feedback that you would like. And then grades can be exported using a very simple command in Noteable. So if you clicked on the blue plus button on the top left there of Jupyter Lab, you would be able to launch a terminal and then export your grades using a two-word command, export MB Grader. And then you would have your grades turned into a CSV file in Noteable that you can download and export and report on. So now that we've had a look at what Noteable is as a service and the features that it provides. There are a few others that we have missed, but if you have any questions, we can cover them in the Q&A. Now let's have a look at Noteable and how it fits into the Glow ecosystem. And this includes a little bit of background as to how Noteable has come to become an app in the ecosystem of Glow and what it means for teachers. So back in early 2021 or so, Edina started working with Education Scotland towards the integration and the addition of Noteable as an application within Glow. Over the 2021 and into 2022, that development and integration work took place, as well as some initial resources that were developed for teachers to start making use of the tool, and also to increase awareness of what was available within the different coding environments. Then earlier this year, we finalized the development of a new coding environment providing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in JupyterLab, and we call that the web development environment, which you will have seen there on the drop-down list of the available notebook options for you to choose. And what we're currently working on, which is of relevance to this workshop that we're running, as well as the one we'll be running next week, and any further ones that will come in December and January of next year, is a development of Python and RStudio resources, and particularly RStudio resources for use in the higher applications of math qualification. We've become aware that teachers are making use of Noteable to teach with RStudio in a variety of ways, whether it's Chromebooks in class or to assign homework. But in essence, it provides essential preparation to the RStudio environment, which is then part of the examination for that qualification within a computer lab or a classroom where computers have been set up without access to the internet, but with the RStudio environment. So we've seen some developments in the last couple of months that have made us very excited about what we're working on. We'd love to hear continued feedback from yourselves on this call, or if you're listening to this recording afterwards, that you might have for Noteable, for any of the resources that we're developing. We have been sharing the resources with a number of different communities and channels, but if you haven't seen them yet, do get in touch with us and we'll be happy to share them with you for your feedback. So now that Noteable is available in Glow, and we've reviewed how it can be added and what the steps are to add, as well as some of the features, in thinking specifically of the benefits of Noteable for teachers, we have developed a number of different resources that are available on GitHub. And what we're currently working on is part of the STEM grant provided by Education Scotland. And we're currently in round 4 of this grant and in the second phase, where we are developing RStudio and Python teaching aids and resources. As Denise pointed to earlier at the start of the call, this is in alignment with what teachers are working on in Scotland, and it's aligned with the Curriculum for Excellence, which is part of the of requirements to ensure that these resources are as fit for purpose as possible for teachers. And what that means is that between now and the end of February, we'll be running a number of workshops such as this one and webinars as well to gather any feedback or any information or any questions that you might have about these resources to make sure that they are as fit for purpose as possible when they become open educational resources over in March of next year. And so to provide a bit of a timeline of what those workshops and webinars will look like over the next couple of months. So of course we have today's webinar taking place, and it will be structured quite similarly to the next one that we'll have next week. We'll run through an introduction to Noteable, some context and background to the work that we've been doing in schools, and it'll end with some information on the resources that we have been developing for this round of the STEM grant. We'll also look to gather an idea of best schedules for teachers who attend this session and the next one towards another one in December. And we'll also continue expanding our reach to make sure that as many teachers as possible can attend either next week or workshops that we host in December. Then we'll look to follow those up in January with additional workshops and webinars, which will also gather feedback and hopefully put together some focus groups of teachers that are either working in the RStudio environment with Noteable for the high applications of math qualification, or perhaps in computing science or other subjects for the Python uses of Noteable and Jupyter notebooks. So by the end of January, we hope to have a set of robust resources for final feedback calls and for final input from focus groups. And we'll be making those resources available at the start of March of next year. They will be available through the Glow DigiLearn blog. They will be available through the Times higher education open resource pages, and they'll also be available through the EDINA website for Noteable and the University of Edinburgh's Open Educational Resource page. So now that we've looked at what we're currently working on and the next couple of months for our workshops and webinars with Noteable, in terms of our future plans, we are continuing to develop a service roadmap, as well as the service level agreements that will ensure we have a robust set of service provision mechanisms and policies in place. We have a website ready for anyone to access and look at some of the resources that we have available. And there are policies there as well for our data retention, privacy, accessibility, etc. And we've seen some local authorities make use of those in making Noteable an application available through Glow. We're also looking at alternative and additional environments that might be desirable for teachers and for different users of Noteable. That will include integrated development environments such as VS Code, as well as other updates to RStudio, to Python, and to what Jupyter Lab can provide within Noteable. We are continually reviewing our service performance and reliability. We're set up here at the University of Edinburgh using IT infrastructure here at the university. So over the next year or so, we're ensuring that the performance of that infrastructure is as reliable as possible and provides the best possible features tailored for educational needs at university and at school level, and hopefully facilitating the bridge between those in terms of what's being taught and how it's being taught with the best available tools. And again, our current tranche of resources will become available from March of next year. It will cover a set of introductions to Python for primary and secondary level, as well as a secondary level focus on the RStudio environment for use with the higher applications of mathematics course. And so just wrapping up the presentation side here of this workshop before we go into the Q&A bit. We have some information here on how to contact us. As Denise pointed to, please do find us on social media. Reach out to us if you have any questions or would like to hear more or try Noteable out or are just interested in what we're doing. So if you'd like more information about what we've covered in this webinar so far on how to subscribe to Noteable by using the Glow Key Contact and RM application form, you can visit us on our website, notable.edina.ac.uk, where you'll find a contact form that will reach directly to us, or we can answer any questions that you might have or provide any additional information. In terms of contacting us, you can contact us through email, give us a call during working hours on the number here on the slide. And also we periodically update with what we're doing on LinkedIn as well as on Twitter. So I've been talking for a short while here. I'll just thank everybody who's been listening and joined us on the call so far. And I'll take a quick pause just to check if there are any questions that have come in on the chat, or if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask us verbally.